So it's been like a month since I last made a video, and the reason is because I haven't played any good games. My interest is, is and has been very low as usual. And but I did manage to play this game that I'm about to show you. It wasn't a very good game, but it's at least a little bit entertaining. I was black, and my opponent was a pretty decent player. And it was played about, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 days ago on the internet. The time control was 3 minutes with 3 seconds in each move, so it was a fast game. He opened d4, knight f6, knight to f3, b6. When you haven't played for several weeks or so, you don't care so much about openings, and b6 is just one alternative. There are many ideas: g6, d5, e6, and so on, and whatever, and even c5. But I played b6. He played knight b d2, bishop b7, e3. So it's a rather slow, quiet opening. Not really much going on. c5, b3, knight c6, a3. A bit unnecessary. I mean, a3 doesn't really make much sense because, okay, maybe he was afraid of something like knight to b4, but I wasn't planning to play that. But it was on his mind, so he played a3, bishop e7, bishop b2, castles as well, d5. It's hard to say who is better here. I think it's still just in the opening, but I think black is doing just fine. I've seen this like a million times. White can at some point play knight to e5, and if black takes, then pawn takes. But then on the other hand, if he would play something like that, then this bishop over here would be cut off, this diagonal. So queen e2, a6, rook after d1, rook e8, knight to e5. So he did play that move, but I didn't actually take. I'll play b5, and here he plays c4. So there's this tension here on the queen side, as well as on my d5 pawn. I play c takes d4. He took back, and now d takes d4. So now we can see that there's a double threat on the pawn on d4, but of course he eliminated that threat, so he played knight takes e6, but here I played c takes d3, an in-between move, but it's not so much an in-between move. It's more or less forced, because otherwise I would just lose a pawn, and the point is that after c takes d, he can take my bishop over here on e7. Notice that if this bishop hadn't been there, then knight takes c6 would have been a rather bad mistake, because after knight takes queen, I can just continue capturing with my pawn, d takes e, and then I'm also threatening the rook here. So, of course, he saw that. So knight takes e7 with checks, and I have to take. I took with the rook because that allows me to put more pressure on this pawn on d4. After queen takes, and now queen d5, threatening checkmate. So he played f3. Another move would have been knight to f3 also, but f3 takes care of that permanently. Rook d8, queen e2, and now rook e to d7, and now there's only one piece protecting the pawn on d4, and that's the bishop over here. So if I can somehow manage to put more pressure over here on this pawn with something like, I don't know, knight c6 or whatever, then this pawn would just be lost, but it's not that simple. So you play knight to e4, a mistake of course, but remember this was a blitz game. I just took the knight takes, pawn takes, queen takes, bishop takes. So I'm up a pawn. But notice that we have opposite color bishops, and opposite color bishop endgames are very notorious for being very drawish. But I found somewhere, somehow, that this game was okay. Not only was I up a pawn, but I think my structure is better here. So he played b4, just trying to shut things off on the queen side, but now I'll play rook c7, rook a to c1, rook d to c8. He had to take, and after rook c1, I'll just trade the rooks, and now we have a clearly an opposite color bishop endgame, so I play king f8, just getting my king into the center. He played king d5, so now my king is on d5 and his king is on e3. So the question is how I can win either this pawn or get my king up here. But you know, I was looking at something like this, but then he can just move his bishop back and forth. So when my king goes over here or even over there, so it's not that simple actually to win. So it turned out it didn't turn out that way. I took the pawn. Okay, he played king e2, which is not a very good move, but his idea was that after king takes d4, he has this check, so he can win this pawn on g7. But of course, I saw that. My idea was that his king central pawn on d4 was more important than my pawn over here, because then I would have a potential 2 connected pass pawns after winning these pawns as well. So I figured that it would be a good idea. So bishop e2 check, king c4, and now bishop takes, king b3, and now there really is no way to save this pawn. So he tried to corner my king in some way. So king d2, king takes, king c3, and here I play king a4 with the idea to play the pawn to a5. So bishop f8, a5, b takes, king takes, bishop b4 check, king b6. These moves were all made in, well, very fast at least. Like I said, it was a blitz game. King d4, king c6, king e5, h5. Rather important move, I would say. After bishop e7, I played an interesting move, f6. Notice that it's close to impossible to get this my king into his part of the board, so to speak, because after bishop e7, I can't go to c5, I can't go to d5 because his king is on e5. So I have to sacrifice a pawn, f6. Notice that if it takes with the king, then my king comes up to d5, and if it takes with the bishop, then my king comes up to c5. So it was a strategical, or maybe even a tactical sacrifice. So after f6, f6 check, he took with the bishop, and here I moved my king to c5, king f4, king c4, king e3, and my idea now is to simply push my pawn and force him to sacrifice his bishop, but it didn't actually turn out that way anyway. So we were just making these moves rather fast. Now it looks like I'm again forced to give up something or try to maneuver my king, but you know, it's not that hard. I can also go down here and up this way and then back over here and then push this pawn. So I think black is of course completely winning this. So I did say 3 minutes with 3 seconds on each move, which means that after each move you get 3 seconds. So that's basically why we were just pushing the pieces around. But you know, white is completely lost. And now king f1, just made a queen, and here okay, I didn't actually mention that, but of course it was obvious he had to sacrifice his bishop now. But there was actually something very hard to miss in games like this. I think there was a point somewhere around here where he could have played the move g4, maybe even here, let's say g4, and then takes, and now something like this, and it goes over here, then okay, I can always sacrifice my bishop. But something like that can be dangerous when you're playing a blitz game. So anyway, after bishop h7, he resigned because he was completely lost. Of course, I can either make a queen here or even make 2 queens with this pawn as well. So if, for example, if king over here, I can just play this move and then make a queen. 2 queens against a king, basically. Okay, I don't know what else to say about this game. It was a blitz game, rather entertaining, and like I said, I haven't played many good games lately, and well, I haven't played much lately either. So I hope to get back playing more often, and also making more videos more often about various subjects in chess, of course. So until then, play many good games, and I'll see you soon.